You know, sometimes the biggest ideas, the ones that shape our entire world, come from the most unexpected places. What if I told you that a single, kind of obscure court case from way back in the 1600s, all about a doctor's fight with a medical board, actually planted the seed for one of the most powerful concepts in modern democracy? Well, that's what we're digging into today. So let's start with this massive question. Can a court actually strike down a law? I mean, think about it. Who gets the final say? The people who are elected to write the laws, or the judges who are appointed to interpret them? It's a huge deal, and the answer we live with today was really forged in a battle that happened over 400 years ago. All right, let's set the scene. We're heading back to early 17th century London. Picture the bustling, probably pretty dirty streets, and right in the middle of it all, a major conflict is brewing between one very stubborn doctor and a really powerful institution. Okay, so on one side, you've got our guy, Dr. Thomas Bonham. And let's be clear, he's no quack. This man has a medical degree from Cambridge, which is a huge deal. On the other side, the Royal College of Physicians. They had a royal charter, basically permission from the king himself, to control who could and couldn't practice medicine in London. Well, Dr. Bonham, even with his fancy degree, decided to practice without their specific license. And as you can imagine, the college was not happy about that. Not one bit. The college didn't just, send him a cease and desist letter. Oh no. They used the power the law gave them to fine him. And when he still refused to back down, they had him thrown in jail. So for Dr. Bonham, this wasn't just a professional squabble anymore. This was a fight for his entire career and now his freedom. But this whole thing quickly turned into something much bigger than a simple licensing dispute. When you look closer, you start to see that the entire system was, well, it was fundamentally broken. Let's peel back the layers on this. Seriously, just think about this for a second. Imagine you're playing in a World Cup final, but the referee is also the captain of the team you're playing against. Do you think you're going to get a fair shake? Absolutely not, right? Well, that's pretty much the exact spot Dr. Bonham found himself in. The whole process was just a mess. The college was the one in charge of licenses. Then they were the ones who accused Dr. Bonham, and then their own officials were the ones who judged him. But here's the real kicker, the part that's just unbelievable. The college got to keep half of all the fines it handed out. So they had a direct financial reason to find people guilty. It's not just a conflict of interest. It's a system that's practically begging to be abused. So Dr. Bonham didn't just give up. He sued the college for false imprisonment. And his case worked its way up through the courts until it landed on the desk of a man who was about to change legal history forever, Sir Edward Coke. You have to understand, Sir Edward Coke was an absolute giant in the English legal world. He was brilliant, famously tough, and he was a diehard champion of something called the common law. He truly believed that this law, this collection of ancient rights and principles, was bigger and more important than any one person, even the king, and bigger than any single law that Parliament could ever pass. So what even is this common law he was so passionate about? Well, it wasn't a big rule book written down by Parliament. Instead, it was this body of law that was built up over hundreds of years, based on the decisions judges made in actual cases. For a guy like Coke, the common law was basically the soul of justice and reason. It was this higher law that was there to protect people's fundamental rights from anyone who tried to take them away, even the government. And this, right here, is the moment the world changed. In his ruling, Coke wrote these words that would literally echo for centuries. He said that when a law passed by Parliament is against common right and reason, the common law will step in, control it, and, get this, adjudge such act to be void. Just let that sink in for a second. A judge was claiming the power to cancel a law made by Parliament. This wasn't just a new idea, it was completely revolutionary. I mean, that was an absolutely radical thing to say back then. And, while it didn't completely transform the English legal system overnight, it planted a powerful seed. A seed that would end up traveling a long way and growing in some really unexpected places. So back in England, Coke's ideal was pretty controversial. And eventually, the belief that Parliament's laws are the absolute final word, that's what won out. But across the Atlantic Ocean, in the American colonies, a different story was unfolding. Lawyers and patriots who felt they were being crushed by unjust laws from a faraway British Parliament, they grabbed onto Coke's idea with both hands. It was the perfect argument for their cause. So let's actually follow that idea's journey because it's a fascinating one. It crossed an entire ocean and became one of the absolute cornerstones of American law. You can literally draw a straight line from Coke's courtroom in 1610 to the founding of American law.
By 1761, you have the American patriot James Otis using Coke's reasoning to fight against these awful British search warrants. Then, you fast forward to 1803, and the legendary Chief Justice John Marshall, in the huge case Marbury v. Madison, makes it official. The U.S. Supreme Court has the power to declare a law passed by Congress unconstitutional. The seed that was planted in Dr. Bonham's case had finally fully bloomed.
And this incredibly powerful idea now has a name: judicial review. It's really the ultimate check on government power. It's the principle that gives courts the final authority to look at what the president or Congress does and say, nope, that violates the Constitution, so it's void. So, okay, why does a 400-year-old case really matter to any of us today? Because this principle, judicial review, is a fundamental pillar of how many democracies work. It's what keeps the branches of government in balance, it's the shield that protects an individual's rights when the government tries to overreach, and it's the ultimate guarantee that all laws have to measure up to a higher constitutional standard. It is just incredible when you step back and think about it. This massive legal concept that shapes entire nations and protects our most basic freedoms, it all started with one doctor in London who just felt he was being treated unfairly. His very personal fight for his own career gave birth to a principle that now anchors the rule of law for hundreds of millions of people. But of course, giving courts this much power leaves us with a really deep and timeless question, one that people have been debating ever since Coke first wrote those words. If courts can strike down laws that were passed by the people we elected, who keeps an eye on the judges? Who guards the guardians? That's definitely something to think about.